worship this morning. A handful of quick announcements for you. First off, we recognize we've come to the end of a school year. Some of us may not even know that yesterday was the last day of school for our kids right next door here, and many of our young people are graduating. And we recognize that it's a big milestone, and while we can't give you all the pomp and circumstance that we'd like to, we are wanting to honor our graduates. So if you have a young person in your life that is graduating as part of our church family, even if they're off at UCA or some other place that we don't get to see them very often, they're still part of our church family and they're dear to our hearts. So we'd love to know what year are they graduating from, what certificates they got, and a picture if you have it so that we can slip in a nice bulletin insert for them and let them know that we are so grateful and proud of who they are and the wonderful things that Jesus will do with their new skills. So just contact the church office with that information, and we will be sure that we have a nice insert in here that honors their achievements. Next, I should look at the right side here. Many people are wondering, with some of the things that are going on in the state and the country right now, when are we going to be back in here? When are we going to be back at church? The short answer is, we don't know right now. But rest assured, the elders, the pastors, the board, we're going to be having many discussions over this week and the next. Distancing, and please bring some form of mouth covering for those sorts of things. So just keep that on your books, and any other information that you need, our bulletin gets emailed out each week, so I encourage you take a look at that. If you haven't gotten it, please contact the office and we'll be sure that you get that. Last, but certainly not least, we have a special video announcement that's going to pop up here shortly. And I just want you to pay close attention because we have a special initiative that our church is wanting to participate in, and we'd love your input in as well.
In Jeremiah 29:7, God says this: "Seek the welfare of the city to which I have caused you to go, and pray on its behalf, for your welfare is bound up in its welfare." Pray for your city?
When was the last time you prayed for your city? For the bakery down the street? For the people who cut your hair? For the Parks and Recreation Department? For one of our social agencies in the area? For our local hospitals?
Our church has an idea. We want to adopt this city, to bring it to the forefront of our minds every day, and seek the Lord's blessing on this community that we are part of. But it's going to take all of us, our kids, our adults, our grandparents, every person that's willing to climb on board.
We want to invite you to join us in seeking the welfare of this city and looking for active ways in which we can make a difference in the lives of our dear neighbors.
Here's how it works. First, choose something in your city to pray for every day for the next 90 days. The canvas is wide open. It could be a small business that's struggling, your favorite restaurant, a police station, a daycare, the street of houses next to our church. Get creative. Choose something that means something to you and pray for it.
Second, find a way to let that entity know that you are praying for them. We've created a letter which you can personalize and either mail to or hand deliver to that entity that God is putting on your heart to bless.
And third, do something tangible in addition to praying for them. Send a note to the person who cuts your hair. Go down to that bakery and buy a donut. Send a card to the guy who picks up your trash. We want to leave you an open canvas for you to use your creativity to find tangible ways of reaching out to your people, of your community. So let's find those ways that we can put our faith into action.
Please let us know who you've chosen to pray for in our city so that we can keep track of who is being prayed for. In our city, a city filled with people feeling isolated, abandoned, overwhelmed, fearful during uncertain times. That's why we exist as a church, to let people know that someone cares, and more important, that Jesus cares.
We are having we had a new idea, and I need to hand much of the credit to Annie, who came to Pastor Teddy and I and asked that we engage in something like this. So if you can give a round of applause at home, but we especially I'm putting you on the spot for a second. We just want to say thank you very much for Annie. We are starting a new prayer initiative. It's a simple way to reach out to our community, and we're calling it Dear Neighbor, because that is how we feel about our community. They're dear to us, and they're near to us. So, Annie, could you reiterate, what are some of those ways, if I wanted to participate in our Dear Neighbor prayer initiative, how could I get involved?
Well, what I love about this project, this prayer initiative that our church is embarking on, is it's very simple. It's as simple as each one of us in the church, and in the video we mentioned, we want everybody involved. We need everybody on board with this. Our kids can be involved in this. Our grandparents, all of us adults, everyone can be involved. It's as simple as three things. Choose something in our city that you would like to pray for, and commit to it for 90 days to pray every day for that entity, whatever it is. Choose a way to let them know that you're praying for them. We have put together a letter, as Pastor Teddy mentioned in the video, that just simply says, somebody is thinking about you during these tough times and praying for you. We want you to know that we care. It's a letter that we can get to you to send out. And then the third thing is, along with praying for this, whatever you choose in our city, find some way to reach out to them tangibly, something in addition to prayer, to let them know we're here to support you, we care, we're thinking about you, you are on somebody's mind. So it's just a very, very simple package that each of us as part of our church can be involved in the ways that we choose.
Thank you, Annie. You know, I think that sometimes we underestimate the power of praying for our city, for the community around us. And when we reach out to the people of this community who may not know about the good news of Jesus, and we let them know that there's a place right here at this corner of people who care enough to think about them each day for 90 days and to seek God's blessing on them. So you don't have to choose today. It's okay if you take a little time to think about who is God moving on your heart to pray for, which business, which community, which entity, which social agency, which whatever in our area. But we ask that you take this seriously because prayer is powerful. It's meaningful, and it has the ability to transform the hearts and lives of people around us, but also my heart and your heart. So we just ask that you give this some serious thought, some serious consideration, and let us know who you're praying for. We'd love to build a little map and see how much of this wonderful city of ours is being prayed for. So thank you very much. Happy Sabbath.
And I would just add one thing. When you do choose what you will be praying for, get in touch with us here at the church. Send an email to Sheila, to our secretary, or give a call, and we will find a way to send you the letter. Either we will email it to you, or if you don't have an email or a printer, we will find another way to get you that letter so that you can send it out and start on just this journey of seeing what could God do when we are praying for our city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's time for our children's stories. So if all of our young people can draw close to our screen, we have a very special one today. I'm looking forward to it.
Good morning, children. And today, my name is Elijah. And I want to tell you how I learned that God provides for all of our needs. Well, I was living in Israel, and, not all the Israelites were worshiping God. I love worshiping God. I love coming out and praising His name, but not all the Israelites were doing it. Oh, they still believed in God, but they had began worshiping other gods. They were worshiping Baal and Ashtaroth, and even the king, King Ahab, he was teaching the people to worship Baal. He was saying that Baal sends the rain, Baal sends what we need for our gardens to grow. He doesn't understand. God is the one who provides. And I was so sad about this. And one day God spoke to me, and He said, "Go tell Ahab that it is I who sends the rain, and that there will be no rain for 3 years until the people know that it is I who in heaven gives the rain." All right, God, I will do that. And so I just marched right up into Samaria. I marched right into the capital. I marched right up to King Ahab, and I said, "There will be no rain for 3 years until the people know that God in heaven is the one who gives the rain." And he kind of sat there. And I turned around and I marched right out of his throne room, right out of the city. And God told me, "Go to the brook Kerith and stay there, and I will feed you, and you can drink from the water." And I marched right over there. King Ahab was just so surprised. He just didn't know what to do for a few minutes. And by the time he told his guards, "Go get Elijah," I was already out of the way. God had provided for me, and I went to the brook Kerith, and I stayed there, and I drank from that water. Oh, it was good water. And every night, God sent ravens with food. I had food every day. I had bread, and what I needed, God provided for me. And it quit raining. It got hot out, and the trees started shriveling up. The plants were having a hard time living. And the brook even started to get smaller and smaller. But I kept drinking from it. I knew God was providing for me. And every night, birds came in, brought me my food. I was doing good. I was trusting in God to provide for me. And then one day, the water ran out. Well, now what? I didn't get upset. I just talked to God. "God, you're the one who provides. What would you like me to do?" And God spoke to me. He said, "Go to Zarephath. And there I have provided a widow who will provide for your needs." So I just got up and I started walking to Zarephath. It was a long walk. I was getting pretty thirsty, and I came to the city. And as I was coming up the city, I saw this lady. She was out gathering some sticks. And I asked her, "Could you provide me a cup of water? I'm really thirsty." She said, "Sure." And as she began to go, I said, "Oh, and could I have a piece of bread?" She turned, she looked very sad, and she says, I'm just a poor widow, and I've only got a little bit of wheat left and a little bit of oil left, and as soon as I gather enough sticks for a fire, I'm going to bake my last loaf, and me and my son, we're going to eat it, and then we're probably going to die because we don't have any more." I said, "Don't worry. Provide for me, and then God will make sure that your wheat never fails, and that your oil will never run out." She took me at my word, and she went, and she made the loaf, and she brought for me, and she took me into her home and had a meal. And you know what? God provided more wheat in her wheat bin and more oil in her flask, and we had food. And her well that she had, it didn't run dry like many of the other wells in town. And so we had food and we had water every day. And this went on for almost 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, God told me, "Elijah, tell him that it is God that sends the rain, and put him to the test." And so, okay, Lord. So I got up and I started heading back to Samaria. And I found Ahab, and he looked at me. "Is it you, you troubler of Israel?" Hey, I'm not the one who troubles Israel, but you are, because you taught the people to pray to Baal, and it is God who sends the rain, not Baal. I'll tell you what, Ahab, you gather up all your prophets of Baal, your 450 prophets of Baal, and you gather up all the people, and you meet me on the top of Mount Carmel. And we'll see whose God is the one who provides. And he just looked at me and he's like, okay. And he turned around and he went back to his city, and I marched up there to the top of Mount Carmel, and I waited. And here came all the people from Israel, and they gathered up there. And here comes King Ahab with all his prophets of Baal and his prophets of Ashtaroth. And he gathered around, and I said, okay, now, should you worship God or should you worship Baal? Let us see who will provide the rain. And so I have a test for you. You prophets of Baal, 450 of you, I want you to make your altar. I want you to put an offering on the altar and pray to your God. And the God who answers by fire, he is God. Well, all the people like that idea.